Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to continue on with today looking at a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's selection, I can't talk today. Today's selection comes from Martha. This is Kalandra doing a cover of a song by Norwegian musician Einar Selvik, who also does wonderful versions with his band Wardruna, a funeral song about the journey to death accompanied by song. So let's get into this. See what Wardruna is bringing to the table today.
Skal synge meg i dødsvevnas linje meg.
Beautifully haunting intro.
Når jeg Helvegen går, og de spora jeg trår, kalde, så kalde.
I wish the harmonies would come through just a little stronger. The intensity of our toms are ramping up. I wonder what we're building to. Oh, we're not building to anything. That's the end? Yeah. Yeah. So here's here's the thing. This was simply gorgeous. I mean that on the wordplay. There's not a lot going on in here, but it is just gorgeous from start to finish. It exists in three parts. I kind of want to explore all three for a little bit. Um, though they're all very similar. So, like I said, I just kind of want to gloss over how they're different first, and then we'll talk about the composition in general on all of this. So, the first section is just organ with keys and the bowed electric guitar. We have two vocalists, our lead female vocalist and a backup male vocalist. And this pretty much dictates our opening 2 minutes or so. From here, we push into our bigger section where we introduce the drum kit, primarily toms and snare. No cymbals. Maybe sparse. I kind of remember a cymbal hit, but I don't know if that actually happened or not. um, but primarily toms and snare. We ditch the organ for another electric guitar, and we bring in a second backup male vocalist. And this takes us through the majority of the track until we hit our outro, which brings us back down to organ and vocals alone. So we have this nice rising intensity of adding extra instruments, removing the organ for another electric guitar, which rises intensity. The guitar has a lot more bite than the organ does, and then hitting a peak and falling back down. Really nice bell curve to this track. Musically, a lot of this song is foundation, focusing on chord progression, whether it's the keyboard playing the chord itself, or the guitar playing the chord, or the organ playing the chord, or our bowed guitar playing The chord? Occasionally pedal tone, just the root note, but sometimes also the chord. I remember one of the first times we saw them, they were bowing multiple strings. So yeah, the idea is that everybody plays the chord. Um, we don't hear the same 3 to 4 notes in every single instrument. It does build the chord up in a variety of different ways. Some instruments get unique notes within the key, and others pair up with what other instruments are doing. The end result is a bit of a varied chord where the progression also changes because different timbres are going to take on different intervals within the chord, the third, the fifth, the sixth, those kind of ideas. And so while we are moving through a 8 chord progression, I think primarily through the entire track, it does feel like it changes and evolves as different instruments pick up different key notes from the chord or from the key. We also have a small shift in one part of the song. I don't know if I can call it a chorus because the song is still just all chord progression. I kind of picked up some repeated syllables, but it's not a language I know, so I don't even know if we hit a repeated lyrical section. But it does tend to take the song from something that is mostly somber into something with a bit of a brightness to it. The only other instrument here is the drums. They are primarily excluded in our opening and outro sections. They are primarily focused on in the middle, again, all toms, and it's all about this rising intensity as we increase the force we use to play the drums themselves while also shifting away from use of ghost notes to go in between accented hits to just louder full notes between your accented hits. And the volume and intensity from the drums, we don't really hear much change on the rhythmic side, but we get a massive change on the sonic side. So yeah, that's the music, and then we have the beautiful harmonies and melody on top, and a lot of variety in there as well. The vocals start out rather not somber. They start out quiet, and they rise with intensity. There's nice rising and falling even within um, specific sections, but as the song on a whole, we reach a point about 4 minutes into the track, 5 minutes into the track, when the drums are reaching their most intense as well, where the vocals are just full bodied, powerful lines. And that's not to say that they're more ethereal or airy at the beginning. They're still full bodied. They just lack the power of volume. And we really hear the vocalist expand on that. And that's actually something I wanted to touch on real quick, is the vocalist's control of her instrument. It is phenomenal to hear somebody sing as quietly as she does, with as full of a sound as she does. Takes a lot of control to figure out how to still get that air pressure through to get that full sound, that full body out of it, while reducing the volume, and about having that proper airflow with less volume. It's one of the hardest things I learned as a trumpet player, and it sounds even more difficult as a vocalist, and it's something that I don't think I could do even having practiced and done it on a trumpet. Um, it's a completely different beast to do it with vocals, which is weird because it's still just air pressure, but one is about pushing air and one is about using your vocal flaps and stuff. So yeah, just totally different beast. It's bonkers. She just pulls it off and that's the thing too. It sounds effortless. Like it's just she just woke up this morning and went for this, and just quiet, but not ethereal, not airy, not whispery. It's just full bodied sound at such a low volume. And of course, I'm sure there was some warm up that went into it. But the idea that it sounds effortless, like it didn't require any work, she just woke up, went to the mic, and laid it down, is I think what impresses me most about the first half of this vocal performance. Um, Emotionally, what is this song doing? Because I think that's the big thing. There's not too many melodies. There's not too many ornamental ideas. It is chord progressions. Even in the vocals, we have our melody, but they're accompanied by two harmonies, which create a triad, which is a chord. So even our vocal work, our melody stuff, is chord based. And our lead vocalist takes these moments towards the end of the track to have these flourishes and these faster movements and these really high moments of intensity, loud volume. But the backup vocalists don't. They still stick with the more simplified melody line, leaning more into the chord work of the song. So, like 70% of this track is all chord work. What is it doing? What's the atmosphere that they're creating? What's the emotion that they're aiming for? And I thought this was really interesting because it is somber. And at the beginning, it even leaned into melancholy, but by the end, it felt not victorious. Hmm, what's the word I want here? Do I know the word that I want here? It leans into something more. I mentioned the word brighter, and I think even that pushes it in the wrong direction. There's a resolution to it that almost feels like relief, and acceptance, maybe. I know what do we have here? This was a song about the journey to death, a funeral song. So actually, that makes sense within that context. It is a funeral song. You'd think there would be some somber, melancholic aspects to it. But if it is told through the perspective of accepting the death, whether it is the people still alive accepting the death of this person, or this person accepting their death and moving to the next realm of life, uh, either way, I think having this uptick towards the end and this big moment right before our outro. Then our outro introduces the melancholy again that leans into this acceptance. I think that's a really great way to phrase the musical components if that's what these lyrics are really aiming for. And I guess while we're on that topic, let's see what the lyrics are aiming for. So, this song is about the journey through the afterlife in Norse tradition, it seems. I meant to figure out what language this was in, and I never did, unfortunately. Um, Anyways, though, it has quite a few references to Norse mythology that I was not quite aware of, so I had to go look a little bit of this up. Also, Genius had some annotations for it, so that helped as well. It is about being on the other side of life. And in the mythology of having to approach hell, the afterlife. It says, "Who will sing me into the death sleep, sling me when I walk the road to hell, and the tracks I tread are cold." So, apparently you have to walk to the afterlife. You don't just appear there. And it says that it's been so long since another soul has made this journey that the trail is cold. There's no tracks to follow. Who's going to sing the song that will guide me there? So he ends up going to, says, "I sought the songs and sent the songs when the deepest well offered drops so mighty of Valfather's pledge." Valfather is a name for Odin, I believe. And it says that they go to a well of memory, is what this is representing, where they get the most intense and solemn fluids of life, which symbolize the rewards of the mythical father of, the father of Odin, Valfather. So Odin's dad. He says, after drinking from this well, he says, "I know it all, Odin, where you hid your eye. Early or in fading day, still the raven knows if I fall." He talks about crossing the bridge of Joel and following their own song, and states to the listener, or possibly this might be sung at a funeral, so it would be sung to everybody at the funeral. It says, "You'll be free from the bonds that bind you, and you are free from the bonds that bound you." The idea that eventually all of us will be free of our living bonds, and we will be on our own journey to find hell. He says, cattle die, kinsmen die, and you will also die. But the word about you will never die if you win a good reputation. Also says that they will leave their song in hopes that when you reach this point in your life or your afterlife, that you'll be able to hear my song and find your way to hell much easier than I did. It's about the cycles of life and death, and about making sure that you live a good life, one with a good reputation, as it states, so that while you may die, the memory of you doesn't. It's a beautiful song that I think has a really good perception of death, and a really healthy relationship to it, that talks about being good to your neighbor, to your fellow human, both in life, have a good reputation, and in death, how our narrator is leaving a song that will create a path for their next soul to easily find their path back to hell. Yeah, beautiful track. And at the beginning there's some confusion. There's some elements of feeling lost. And it's also about someone who is now dead. So yeah, some of the solemn, melancholic elements definitely work here. But I like at the end how there is this, like I said, this healthy relationship with the concept of death, that I think the music does a good job of highlighting as well. It is a solemn song. It is about remembering the dead, but it's also about um, understanding what death is, that it's a natural part of life, and that the best way to live is to live a good life, and to help those around you, both in life and in death. And so we do get that little bit of an uptick at the end that brings about a type of acceptance, I still think is the main emotion I feel there. It all comes together beautifully. The thematic ties are very strong within this one, and the song as a whole is just gorgeous to listen to, start to finish. Those are my thoughts on. I'm going to butcher this. I already butchered it once. I feel so bad about this. The band is Kalandra, and the song is Wardruna Helvegen. I really hope I did okay on that. Let me know your thoughts. Put your opinions, comments, perspectives down in the comment section. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. It takes you to this menu right here. You can find my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. We have a creator request coming up next. Be sure to check that out. Always really great stuff through that program. And I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. We're going to check out a full album. And this is a long video, y'all, so get ready for it. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, with the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.